We're talking about open matters today. Open defined as mobile, social, and cloud technology strategies, the people that are using them. We're talking about leaders, and in our first part of this conversation, as our Spotlight on IMS series, we talked about what open means, and I'm recapping with that. It's mobile, social, and cloud. And now in our second part, we're going to talk about why leaders, why you should embrace open matters. And Barry Libert, the CEO of Open Matter, is joining us here. So Barry, why? Why is it so important for leaders, and I'm going to define leaders as everybody, you define them as board members, but in their companies to embrace these technologies, but this whole open concept?
Very simply, think about the fact that almost 1 billion of us are walking around with really open communication. Think about our Facebook pages. We have our friends, our family members, our personal activities, where we eat, where we drink, what we drink, where you party. I'll bet you is on your Facebook page.
Probably, even though I don't want it there.
I'll bet it's there. If you've got to be careful with your new timeline.
I have 3 young daughters. I party with them.
There you go. And so that's happening with everybody. We're becoming part of an open society where everybody is known to everybody. And we're carrying with us on our mobile devices. Companies have to follow suit. They have to become open just like their constituents are. And they can do that because there's good reason. They can reinvent their industries and their own economics.
So when I ask the question why, I'm interpreting what you just said is because you have to. You have to keep up with your customers.
You want to be there. You want to basically drive revenues very simply, and you want to reduce costs. And the way you do that is that old message, location, location, location. It used to mean real estate, but today's location is I carry it with me. I carry my customers, my friends, my families with me, and you want to be with me wherever I am.
All right, let's use 2 companies as an example of companies that have embraced open and done it in similar ways, but at a little different scale. Let's look at DC Comics, for example. DC Comics was a comic book.
Yep.
They were sort of stuck in the old age. The industry itself was trending down. They went digital last year. Their 2 founders got together and said, we need to tell stories better. We need to not only tell them better, they went back to telling them simpler because they looked at their comic book and it took people too long, but they also needed to tell them in different places, the open part of it.
Yep.
Open it up, let people understand it better, let them get these stories where they want. They blew up their model, and in turn, their company had a huge spike. Several of their competitors had a huge spike because of what they did.
It's a great story, but you think about New York Times Digital, which is a business basically environment, as well as Wall Street Journal online, did the exact same thing. They realized that their future was not just in print. They needed to have video like they have on their homepages, like you're doing here today. They needed to provide digital subscriptions. They reversed their business model. The one reason I always go back to Apple is think what happened to Apple. 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they decided to move from fixed computing, basically PCs, to mobile devices. 70% of their revenues today come from products and services that didn't even exist 7 years ago. And so they became a social, mobile, and cloud company, iTunes, right? And they didn't just reinvent themselves. They reinvented the entire mobile device and computing industry.
He's Barry Libert, the CEO of Open Matter. He's part of our IMS New York City event. You can find more information at inboundmarketingsummit.com. This is an example of an executive briefing 3.0 that we use a product here at the Pulse Network at thepulsenetwork.com. We've talked about open. We've talked about why it's important. In our next segment, we're going to talk about how you sell it inside your company. Sometimes not an easy sell. I'm Butch Stearns. This is part of our Spotlight on IMS.